Hello, my name is Branden Bryce. Welcome to the Veggie Gardener. So today we're talking about bed prep, although we're really just going to introduce bed prep. I wanted to do this so that you can have some time to plan out your bed. Now that we've actually situated our bed, that was video 3 with light and air. You located your bed, now let's plan it out. So this bed is one that I've been using for 2 years now, and in my intro I got 2 pictures of it so you can look at it, one without plants and one with completely packed with plants. So now you can see it. Anyway, let's get into your bed dimensions. So alright, so we're going to want to focus on 2 things really, or we're going to want to think about 2 things when we start really thinking about bed prep. And that's, one, we want to be efficient with our space. We want to maximize how much space we can put vegetables in. But 2, we want to be able to maintain our gardens, or we want to make it easy to maintain our gardens. So to do that, then we talk about pathways. Okay, so let's talk about efficient space. 1, for our width. I recommend a 4-foot width. The reason for that is because on average people can reach 2 feet inward, and it makes it easy to reach the bed from either side. I'll go over here too. And you can go smaller than 4 foot, that's no problem. The only, of course, as you reduce the width size, you're just going to be reducing the space in which you actually can have vegetables, because each bed is going to have to come with at least 1 walkway. Hopefully even 2, of course, if you're doing 4 foot. All right, moving on to length. For home gardens, I would recommend 10-foot lengths. You can go longer. I think 20-foot lengths are perfectly fine too. So the limiting factor when you start deciding it in the length of the bed, is as you're harvesting and as you're maintaining, pulling weeds, whatever, taking out plant debris, you're going to be carrying stuff. And the longer you make your bed, the further you're going to have to walk to get out of your garden. So for most people, especially home gardens, if you have a lot of space at least, which most people aren't dealing with this, I would try and keep your bed length a little bit reduced. And if you have a very long bed, you can always just stick a little pathway halfway in between or something so that you can get out real easily. If you're on a farm, which this video series is not necessarily geared for farms, but just so you know, and you can kind of keep it in the back of your mind, 100-foot length is usually what most farms, or I shouldn't say that because I don't really know, but 100-foot length is what I've seen the most in terms of when people recommend how long to make a farm bed. For close to the same reasons, except for they have more machinery that can help carry the produce through the aisles. Okay, so now let's talk about the aisles. Oh wait, before we get to that, it does actually impact the aisles as well. So actually it's a great thing to talk about. Whenever you design the width of your bed and your walkway, whatever tools you're going to use to maintain your bed and your walkway, you want to make sure that your bed can fit that tool and your walkway can fit that tool. Such as, if you're going to use a rototiller that's 3 foot wide, you don't want your beds 2 foot wide, because then you're going to be tilling up your walkways as well. And on your walkways, if you're going to if you're going to try and do a living pathway, because those are a thing and they're really cool, and you want to use a lawnmower, make sure that your pathway can fit the lawnmower, or that your lawnmower in essence can fit through your pathway. If you want to use a wagon to harvest your produce, again, you know, put that into your thoughts, put that into your design. However wide your wagon is, should be your walkway should be at least that wide. All right, now let's just talking about walking on your walkway. If you're gonna walk on your walkway, I personally like 2 feet wide. I know some people that like 1 foot wide. The reason why you might go smaller than 2 foot wide is because it increases the efficiency of your overall space. Again, each bed is going to come with the walkway. So the bigger the bed and the smaller the walkway, the more efficient the space is going to be used. However, there's a threshold there in which, you know, it's going to start getting hard to maintain and harvest and take care of your garden. And so we want to hit that sweet spot. And I personally like 2 foot walkways because they're easy to walk on. You don't have to put too much thought into not walking on your garden. You don't have to put too much thought on not falling over and spilling all the produce that you're carrying. And yeah, so that's walkways. Let's talk about, what was the next one? Orientation, I believe. Yes, it was orientation. All right. So if you're living in a dry, arid climate like Colorado, well, yes, Colorado, we want to orient our beds along the contour, because that way when it rains or precipitates in any way, even snows, and the water wants to run down the contour, it will have to run into our beds, and it'll either soak into our beds or find the slope of the pathway, because you're not going to be able to orient your beds perfectly, and it'll run across it, but it'll seep in as it goes. If you're in a more humid climate, you're going to want to orient your beds along the contour, but with a slight angle. The reason for that is because, I mean, for the same reasons, in the sense of you want to be able to catch some precip, but if there's a lot of precip, too much precipitation, by the way, is what precip is. If there's too much, your beds can get flooded out and washed away. That's, of course, just as bad of a catastrophe as anything else, as a hailstorm. So that's orientation. Along the contour, if you're in arid climates, if you're in more humid climates with a lot of rain, along the contour with a slight angle. All right, so raised beds. Let's talk about raised beds. So this is gonna be more for the backyard gardener, which is of course where the target audience for this video series is. For raised beds, when you create a raised bed, the width of the bed still applies, 4 foot width, because of that 2 foot arm reach, right? Okay, so then the height, you want it at least between hip height and shoulder height. Of course, shoulder height makes it too weird, too hard to maintain. Hip height makes people start having to bend over. So somewhere around belly button, which is about 3 to 3.5 foot height. And really that's about it. Other than that, everything else applies. You know, your pathways are the same, length of the bed is the same. If you're doing a raised bed, you're probably going to drastically reduce the width, of course, for material reasons, cost reasons. So, raised beds. Sources. I'm going to put up an image of the Living Soils Handbook by Jesse Frost. It's probably one of my favorite books for just a keep at your home resource for backyard gardeners. I think it's a really good resource. I think Jesse Frost did an excellent job on this book. I got a lot of this information from that book. All right, and introducing the next video we're actually going to be actively prepping our beds. We're not just going to be talking anymore. We're getting into some seasons of action and we're passing the winter season of, you know, thought. So let's get into some action next time, and I'll see you then. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.